Chapter 1843. Lin Feng's wildness. I wonder when the demon sealing sage sealed a part of the great world into his own small world. The members of Jiuyu's government even have someone called Jiuyu's sage. They must be incredibly strong. The one who created this small world was powerful. Unfortunately, the demon sealing sage stopped taking care of this small world. Otherwise, this small world would have been incredibly powerful, thought Lin Feng. Perhaps the demon sealer initially wanted to use this small world to relax and enjoy himself. Maybe he was happy as long as nobody destroyed it. And there was Jiuyu's government's Jiuyu's sage. He was probably a peerless cultivator. It was going to be difficult to remain in Yangzhou City. Bro! Lin Wushang walked over to Lin Feng and smiled. Lin Feng was saddened to see that Wushang had lost an arm, and he was only 15 years old. He was completely different from Xiaoqian in the small village. He had an indomitable will. Lin Feng had always been worried about Wushang because he had had a great life, and was born in great circumstances with everything he needed. But in the end he was still motivated and worked hard. Lin Feng released life cosmic energies, which started flowing throughout Wushang's body. Lin Feng clapped Wushang's shoulders and said, "You're only 15 and you're already so tough. Just be careful next time." Hee hee. Wushang just laughed. Lin Feng tousled his hair. Wushang laughed again and said, "Dad and Mom said that when you were 15, you had started rising in the region and that you were traveling alone. They said you were fearless and had an indomitable will. People also admired you. I'm 15, I can't be much weaker than you. But you should stay safe," said Lin Feng. He wanted nobody to have the same life he did back when he was 15. Back then, he had no background, he was just traveling around alone. Wushang had a different life. He could stay safe. He had a choice. Lin Feng and Wushang landed on the ground. Lin Feng looked around and warmth filled his heart. "Dad, Mom." Lin Feng greeted his parents. Yu Menghe's eyes were still filled with tears. Lin Hai just nodded. "Little Lin Feng, what about Wushang's arm?" "I will heal him," said Lin Feng, releasing both of them. Lin Feng also noticed Lu Fei, Yun Shi, Yishui and the others, but someone was missing. He inquired, "Where's Exinyi?" When everybody heard him, they looked a bit strange. Lin Feng suddenly had a bad premonition, but he also understood what had happened after they told him. He had wondered about this a long time ago. She was already being controlled. "I'm going to look for her," said Lin Feng, smiling grimly. Then he added, "Dad, Mom, I don't have much time. I need to sort out some things." "All right, you can go," nodded Yu Menghe. Lin Feng slowly rose up in the air and said, "Jiang's people, attend me." There was a sound of swords cutting the air. The strong cultivators from Jiang appeared, their faces looked as sharp as swords. "Young master," greeted the strong cultivators, bowing before him. Lin Feng made a cutting motion, and dazzling lights appeared, materializing many imperial weapons, all containing a powerful strength. Jiang's cultivators were stupefied, and their hearts also started pounding. Imperial weapons, all these are imperial weapons. They had never seen so many imperial weapons. To Lin Feng, these weren't important. He had killed so many strong people who came from powerful groups. They all had great items with them, and Lin Feng had taken them all after killing them. "All of you choose a weapon," said Lin Feng calmly. Jiang's people were overjoyed. Their silhouettes flickered and they all chose weapons they liked. They had been protecting Xueyu for 10 years and as time passed, they had been complaining more and more. However, at that moment, they all had the feeling that it had been worth it. Their young master had come back, and Jiang had probably started rising in Ba Huang province. "Tell everyone what I'm going to tell you now. In around 2 months, there might be tremendous changes in Xueyu. Maybe Xueyu will have to stop communicating with the outside world, but your lives won't be in peril. People who want to stay can stay, those who want to leave can leave. However, those who want to leave will have to leave within 2 months," said Lin Feng extremely loudly. Many people started shaking. Xueyu was going to change? What was going to happen in Xueyu? "Yes, young master," said the 2 leaders of the group from Jiang'a. Then, the strong cultivators' silhouettes flickered. They went out in Xueyu to inform the populace. Lin Feng looked at the imperial palace. The Qixia soldiers were the guards of the imperial palace. Lin Feng had made them rise, they were legendary in Shuiyu. Qixia forces, listen to my orders, shouted Lin Feng. Qixia troops, present, shouted the troops rising in the air. Same for you, go and inform the population that Shuiyu will change, said Lin Feng. Qixia forces, yes sir. The soldiers also headed out. On that day, they traveled all around the country with their beasts, from one city to another. Of course, ordinary people couldn't leave Shuiyu within 2 months, maybe they wouldn't be able to leave Shuiyu in their entire life. Lin Feng mainly meant to inform cultivators. The empire of Shuiyu stirred. Lin Feng had come back and had told his people that some great changes were going to happen, that maybe they were going to be isolated from the outside world. How astonishing! Many people were startled and had to choose. Did they want to stay or did they want to leave? They wanted to know what kind of changes Lin Feng was talking about. Did he mean good or bad changes? Nobody told them anything, though. Lin Hai frowned and walked over to Lin Feng. Little Lin Feng, you really want to imitate Shuiyu in this world? Dad, I gave everyone the option to stay or leave. Those who choose to stay want to stay in Shuiyu. I can't change their world. They're everything. They want to keep their houses and everything, said Lin Feng. I will constantly make this world better. I will make it become powerful. In 100 years, you will maybe see the whole world, not just Shuiyu. Chapter 1844. Changes in the empire. Lin Feng appeared in a forest in Shuiyu. He inspected each of its corners with his godly awareness. He memorized everything perfectly. Then he continued traveling using his boat. Soon, people who had decided to stay would have to be moved. Lin Feng wanted everything to stay the same because it was his homeland. He could change anything anytime, anyway. After a short time, Lin Feng appeared in an ancient village. The people there were ordinary people. Even those who knew about cultivation and practiced it had low cultivation levels. The majority of them were cultivators of the Qi layer. Sister, did anyone tell you anything about moving? Asked Lin Feng, walking up to an older woman wearing clothes made of animal skins and smiling. I did. Troops riding beasts came to the village and told us about it, said the woman. She smiled and stood up. You must come from very far away. Have a seat. I'll get you some water. Lin Feng didn't refuse. He took the glass of water, it was fresh and cool. He smiled and said, Do you know what the people in the village intend to do? The woman shook her head. We're in the cultivation world, nobody knows us. We don't know about anything. We don't need to worry. Why would we waste our energy to travel over hundreds of kilometers? We don't want to leave Shuiyu, anyway. The woman kept smiling. In the distance, a group of strong men with spears arrived. They looked like hunters. There were animals at the top of those spears, showing a successful hunt. Miss, who's that? Asked one of the young men. The woman looked at him and smiled. He's passing through our village, so I gave him a glass of water. Brother, stay with us tonight, let's get drunk and have a barbecue, proposed the young man, smiling wholeheartedly at Lin Feng. Lin Feng didn't refuse. In the evening, the villagers gathered, grilled some meat and stuffed themselves. Everybody danced together and was having fun. Lin Feng was in the crowd and enjoyed himself too. He loved it. On that day, Lin Feng even slept around a fire. Everybody slept next to one another. On the second day, he left the village. He continued traveling around the country. The day arrived. Many people in the empire of Shuiyu were afraid. 2 months had passed. Some tremendous changes were going to happen in the country, but was going to happen? Lin Feng, his family, many of his friends, the Qixia forces, and Jiang's cultivators were all in the imperial palace of Yangzhou City in the empire of Shuiyu. Are you all sure you want to stay? If you want to leave, it's not too late. I don't want you to feel pressured, Lin Feng asked the crowd. He had warned everybody that some tremendous changes were going to happen in Shuiyu. We're sure. We want to stay and protect Shuiyu forever, said the Qixia forces. Shuiyu was their homeland. They had to protect it, they would never give up. All right. Lin Feng nodded and looked at the members of Jiang. Jiang rules over Ba Huang now. You can leave and go back if you want. Jiang's cultivators clenched their fists. What a difficult decision. Many people didn't leave Shuiyu because they were from there, but Jiang's people were from Jiang in Ba Huang. Something was going to happen, maybe they would be stuck in Shuiyu forever. Young master, I have decided to stay, declared someone. His voice sounded like a whistling sword. He knew that if he went back to Jiang, he would enjoy a high position and live in comfort, but it would be difficult to become stronger. If they stayed with Lin Feng, they would maybe have more opportunities, or maybe not, but they were willing to take that risk. All right, I'm not asking you again then, said Lin Feng. Suddenly, his spirit materialized in dazzling form, and a page of his spirit dashed to the sky. What's that? People raised their heads and stared at that one-paged golden scripture. There was a very detailed drawing on that page. It looked like an entire world. Brilliant lights appeared. The book became gigantic and turned into a light curtain which blotted out the sky and the sun. People were astonished. Something is falling down on Yangzhou City, shouted some people. It was an illusional world. That world was condensing, it almost looked real. People in Yangzhou City were stupefied. It wasn't a book, it was a world, but it looked like a mirage. He's condensing qi into a small world. The strong cultivators of Jiang were staring at Lin Feng. They had heard that emperors could create small worlds, but they had never seen it happen in front of their eyes. Qi was condensed and then turned into a solid world. The stability of the small world depended on the strength of the cultivator. However, could Lin Feng really create a small world like those strong cultivators created? What did Lin Feng want to do? Very quickly, people from the entire empire of Shuiyu landed in the small world, without exception. Qi condensed, and the most amazing part was that as the world expanded, they saw it for themselves. The two worlds were converging. Was that the tremendous change they had heard of? Who would tell them what was going on? Yangzhou City, Imperial Palace. People in the Imperial Palace of Yangzhou City were startled as they stared at the mirage. They could see Yangzhou City, the exact same Yangzhou City. Stabilize, shouted Lin Feng. The qi condensed even more, and suddenly, people from the empire of Shuiyu found themselves shaking violently. The illusion descended from the sky even faster. Was something good happening? Or bad? Finally, the mirage descended from the sky and landed in the empire of Shuiyu. The worlds completely fused together as the qi condensed. The crowd realized they were still in the same place. Nothing had happened. However, they sensed a strange qi all around them. What happened? Thought many people. For example, he could forbid people from killing. That way, people would live in peace and stop fighting. However, if they stopped fighting, what would cultivation become? Therefore, he didn't establish any rules. Lin Feng sat down in the air and looked around, smiling widely. This world was his, he was a god here. I wonder if I can create things using strength that belongs to me only in my world, or cosmic energies, murmured Lin Feng. For example, the planet Earth was a world of civilization, of science and technologies. The continent of the 9 clouds was a cultivation world. Both worlds evolved differently, and people in those worlds were different and never met. However, was the continent of the 9 clouds the ultimate version of the cultivation world? All worlds worked according to the yin and the yang. They all had the earth and the sky, as well as the strength of the 5 elements. Lin Feng's small world was no exception. However, could he create new sorts of cosmic energies? And were the cosmic energies in his small world the same as in the outside world? In the outside world, could he use the same cosmic energies he could in his own small world? After thinking for a long time, Lin Feng disappeared from there. In the outside world, there was nobody left in the empire of Shuiyu. It was unpopulated and looked abandoned. Human beings and animals had all disappeared in the blink of an eye. In neighboring countries and regions, people said that they had seen Shuiyu's people rise to the skies and disappear. When people said that, their questioners said they were either insane or drunk. However, the rumors spread around quickly, and many people said that the empire of Shuiyu was now unpopulated. People had all disappeared between one day and the next. There were many rumors. Some people even started wondering if those people who were considered insane weren't right. More and more people came to Shuiyu to see if the rumors were true. Many people still didn't believe the rumors, but many people also started having doubts, especially when they witnessed reality. The rumors were not groundless. The gigantic territory of the empire of Shuiyu had become desolate. There was absolutely nobody there. Nobody knew what had happened to Shuiyu, and nobody would ever know. It was a new mystery. People in the outside world started talking about Shuiyu all the time. Even many years later, people would continue wondering what had happened. Lin Feng had already left Shuiyu. Even though he missed the actual place, he tried to forget about the past and move on. Now, he could focus solely on cultivation. He wanted to become a peerless cultivator. In the Huang Sea, a place the strong cultivators of this small world didn't even dare visit, someone was waiting. His hair was fluttering in the wind as a powerful desolate qi kept attacking his body. According to legends, the Huang Sea was an ancient battlefield, a symbol of destruction. The Huang Sea back then was the real Huang Sea. It has changed a lot since then. Now, the destructive energies have already faded, I guess, whispered Lin Feng. He opened his third eye and started absorbing strength like a madman. His dragons chanted. The 9 heads of his dragon spirit all opened their mouths at the same time and started absorbing desolate strength at full speed. They converted the energy into physical strength. Lin Feng walked through the Huang Sea, cleansing his body with its strength. He was becoming stronger as he understood the desolate energy better and better. Who said that desolate strength couldn't turn into cosmic strength? 7 days later, in Jiao Yu's forbidden area, someone who looked like a scholar appeared, wearing white clothes. However, they looked sick and their face was yellow. Even though they looked handsome, they looked really ill. However, that person still dared go into the forbidden area. That person was Lin Feng. The young man he had killed had told him that people from Jiao Yu's government had gone to the forbidden area of Jiao Yu. They had looked for the forbidden area for 5,000 years, and were ecstatic that they had finally found it. But very few people knew about it. It was Lin Feng's first time in the forbidden area of Jiao Yu. Nobody had dared go there in the past, as it was such a dangerous place. However, Lin Feng couldn't control himself. He really wanted to see it. The ground was black, the sky was black, the lakes and rivers were black. It was like hell. Lin Feng saw some people on the periphery of the forbidden area, all of them very strong emperors. Those people were definitely the strong cultivators the young man had told him about, and from Jiao Yu's government without a doubt. Lin Feng didn't disturb them. He sat down in the distance and started moving his hands as if he were drawing. He was actually carving deployment spells. Lin Feng had to be careful and prepared when bumping into great emperors. These deployment spells would help him escape if required. Chapter 1846, Jiao Yu, 9 Netherworlds. When Lin Feng finished carving enough deployment spells, he walked over to a river. An emperor guarded the area and looked at Lin Feng. He said indifferently, "That black water is dangerous. Go away, you can die if you come too close." "The black water is the water of the 9 Netherworlds," replied Lin Feng, raising his head and smiling. "Indeed," nodded the strong cultivator. "So it's the right place. I came here precisely because I wanted to see the water of the 9 Netherworlds. Can you really die if you get too close?" Lin Feng walked up to the edge of the river. The emperor groaned when he saw that Lin Feng refused to listen to him. If Lin Feng wanted to die, he couldn't help it. Lin Feng was just a Zun cultivator. He would definitely die if he touched the water. Lin Feng crouched and looked at the water. He slowly stretched out his hand. This place was the most famous forbidden area of Ba Huang and Jiao Yu. It was much more dangerous than the Huang Sea. When Lin Feng put his hand in the water, he sensed some death qi penetrate into his arm and flow throughout his entire body. He turned black as if he had been turned into a part of the water. When the emperor saw that Lin Feng was becoming black, a contemptuous smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Lin Feng hadn't listened to him, and now he was going to die. It was a dangerous place. At that moment, Lin Feng released some life energy and gradually became yellow again. He absorbed the death energy and became completely normal again. Life cosmic energy. The emperor looked at Lin Feng strangely. This young man could touch the black water. What a powerful black water, muttered Lin Feng. He had just put his hand inside it, and death energy had invaded his body. No wonder it was the most famous forbidden area of the region. In the small world, nobody was strong enough to go here. Lin Feng put his hand away and smiled. Master, that black water looks like the water from hell. Are the 9 netherworlds under the water? Is it really hell? You can go inside and you'll see, replied the emperor, smiling icily. You're funny, master, smiled Lin Feng widely. The emperor smiled indifferently too. However, at that moment, his smile suddenly disappeared. Lin Feng, who was smiling so widely, surprisingly, jumped into the black water. Lin Feng sensed the death qi invade his body, and turned completely black. The emperor was astonished, his mouth twitched. How was that possible? Lin Feng jumped into the water, wasn't he going to die? Lin Feng obviously didn't die. He controlled death and life cosmic energies. How could he die in the black water? However, he couldn't sense the powerful death qi. It was as if the water was trying to make him turn into a corpse. Master, don't you want to try? I don't think the water is as scary as the legends say. Lin Feng's head popped up at the surface of the water and he looked at the emperor. The man's mouth twitched. Many other emperors' silhouettes flickered as they arrive. They were stupefied when they saw him out there in the water. Why do I have the impression that this death strength is so special? Murmured Lin Feng. He glanced at the few emperors. The death strength in here was so pure, purer than the death strength he understood. It was like pure death, the kind of death energy you'd only find in hell. Even though the cosmic energies he understood weren't those of the earth and the sky because the gods didn't allow him, the death cosmic energy he understood was much thicker. However, at that moment, the death strength he was sensing was much purer. Lin Feng swam about in the black water, slowly and carefully. He calmly sensed the energy here, and a vortex started rotating around his body. He started to absorb the strength rapidly. The emperors were all staring at Lin Feng. They didn't understand. Lin Feng was a Zun cultivator. How could he be swimming around in the black water? There were 2 kinds of people. Those who were incredibly strong and could swim in the black water, and everyone else, who died inside or even if they got close to it. The river was quite long, and as Lin Feng swam along with the current, he could sense that the death energy was getting thicker and thicker. He had turned gray, as if his body had started decaying. He didn't even look alive anymore. Where is he going? Wondered the emperors staring at Lin Feng. Lin Feng finally stopped. If he continued swimming along the current, he might really die. Lin Feng closed his eyes, floated on his back and relaxed in the black water. At that moment, he really looked dead. The emperors of Jiuyu's government were astonished and glanced at one another. Lin Feng floated on his back for a few days and let the current take him away. He hasn't died, thought the emperors of Jiuyu's government. They were all astonished. This guy was so strange. At that moment, Lin Feng opened his eyes and frowned. He could sense an incredible strength in the water. It was as if it were about to burst, like the lava of a volcano. In the distance, more people appeared in the air, all wearing black robes. They looked enigmatic and unfathomable, especially the leader of the group. He had the eyes of a demon who had come straight from hell. He could probably kill people in the blink of an eye just by glancing at them. They saw Lin Feng and glanced over at him. Lin Feng sensed a powerful strength come down on him. Celestial Master of the 7 Knights. The crowd bowed before the leader of the group respectfully. The leader nodded at them. He looked bestial and powerfully enigmatic. One couldn't guess how old he was. Who is he? Asked the Celestial Master of the 7 Knights, looking at Lin Feng indifferently. Celestial Master of the 7 Knights, he was just passing through. Surprisingly, he's been swimming in the black water for 3 days and he hasn't died, replied one of the emperors. The Celestial Master of the 7 Knights frowned in surprise. A cultivator of the Zun Qi layer had spent 3 days in the black water and wasn't dead? Did he have a special body, such as the 9 Netherworlds body or the King of Hell body? Many other people appeared in the sky, all great emperors, and they bowed before the Celestial Master of the 7 Knights and greeted him, Celestial Master of the 7 Knights. "Thank you for your hard work," said the celestial master of the seven knights. "You made great efforts to find the 9 netherworlds. Do you know when it will erupt?" "We've been waiting for a few months already. Its strength is getting more and more intense. The explosion should be imminent," reported one of the great emperors. Lin Feng recognized him. It was the ancestor of the 2 young men he and his brother had killed. "All right," said the celestial master of the seven knights. He shook his hand and a black gourd appeared. When the great emperors saw that gourd, they were startled. The celestial master of the seven knights had brought the gourd. He was about to absorb the essence of the 9 netherworlds. What do the people of Jiuyu's government want to do? What mystery does this forbidden area hide? Wondered Lin Feng. They had just said that the 9 netherworlds were going to explode. They probably meant the area under the black water. The celestial master of the seven knights flitted over to the gigantic whirlpool of the forbidden area. He suddenly turned black, and the strength of the 9 netherworlds started flowing throughout his body. The celestial master of the seven knights took a deep breath and disappeared into the gigantic whirlpool, where he started absorbing the strength of the 9 netherworlds. The strong cultivators around were impressed. The celestial master of the seven knights' strength is powerful. He jumped right into the whirlpool. Those watching were astonished. Lin Feng was still in the black water, but people didn't pay attention to him. In the eyes of the celestial master of the seven knights, Lin Feng was just passing through. The goal of the celestial master of the seven knights was the 9 netherworlds. The strong cultivators of Jiuyu's government waited patiently. Lin Feng was still in the black water and he was waiting as well. The death strength below was becoming more and more powerful. Lin Feng had the impression that he was dying. Time passed and the black water whirlpool rotated faster and faster. More and more death strength emerged. Lin Feng couldn't handle it. At that moment, someone's voice drew Lin Feng's attention. The celestial master of the seven knights suddenly rose up in the air at full speed, the whirlpool boiling beneath him. The powerful strength started exploding under him. The black water started moving at immense speed. Chapter 1847. Hell, how powerful! The 9 netherworlds were created that way? Is it the real hell? Thought Lin Feng, studying the darkness. The fearsome darkness kept spreading through the air and blotted out the sky. Lin Feng gazed into the distance as everything was covered by the darkness. The waters moved faster and faster and kept bombarding him. Lin Feng finally rose up into the air. He could die under such powerful energies. At that moment, the black waters turned into a black ocean. The celestial master of the seven knights was at the top of the inverted waterfall. His eyes were gleaming as he watched the 9 netherworlds' black water. He waved his hand, and his 9 netherworlds gourd became gigantic before it started absorbing the strength at full speed. The inverted waterfall flew straight into the gourd. Essence of the 9 netherworlds. The strong cultivator of Jiuyu's government were astonished. The gourd was absorbing the essence of the 9 netherworlds. The 9 netherworlds gourd blotted out the sky. It contained a special kind of strength, as if it were absorbing the earth and the sky. Jiuyu's government came here to steal the 9 netherworlds' black water. Thought Lin Feng, shivering. The water which flowed out of the whirlpool was powerful, raw essence strength. The celestial master of the seven knights was absorbing all its essence. The gourd he had was a great imperial weapon. There was enough essence in the gourd to form a lake. The source of the 9 netherworlds continued being sucked into the gourd. After a long time, the gourd had absorbed an incalculable amount of the 9 netherworlds' water. There were rumbles as the flow of water began to slow. Almost all of it was now inside the gourd. The ground was shaking, the sky was rumbling. Lin Feng sensed that something was happening below him. What's that? Thought Lin Feng. Lin Feng was shocked to see a building appear in the middle of the lake of the 9 netherworlds. In front of him, a gigantic palace was rising. The black palace was dreadful and imposing. It looked like a palace from hell. The celestial master of the seven knights was startled too, and stared at it thoughtfully. The main gate of the palace opened itself. It was as if something or someone was waiting for them to go in. The entrance to hell. The celestial master of the seven knights was astonished. The legends were true. This was the entrance to hell. The entrance to hell. Lin Feng was astonished, his heart started pounding. He blurted out, "Does hell really exist?" "Why wouldn't hell exist?" said the celestial master of the Seven Knights, smiling at Lin Feng. "You want to go inside and see?" Lin Feng's mouth twitched. What would hell look like? Lin Feng was very curious. However, what would happen if he went inside? Only dead people went to hell, that's he had always heard in his previous life. Was it true though? Maybe it was different. He had the feeling that his bones were broken, but he scratched his head and stood up. He glanced around and smiled. "Hell? Ghost world?" Lin Feng laughed. He knew where he was. He had arrived in another world. Hell, or the ghost world, was just like the continent of the Nine Clouds. It was just a name. Someday, Lin Feng's small world would become extremely powerful, and at that time, if he wanted, he would be able to call it hell or ghost world, or whatever. However, was this place in the great world or a small world? People's cultivation levels here are extremely high. They're not weaker than people in the holy city, thought Lin Feng glancing at the crowd. People's chi was different and the buildings around had a different architecture. But people in here were cultivators too. But how can I go back? Thought Lin Feng, scratching his head. He had a headache. The 9 netherworlds were the entrance to another world. Since he could come in, it meant he could also leave. The problem was how? Lin Feng walked forwards and glanced around. He needed to find a place where he would be able to get some pieces of information regarding this place. Everywhere, the best places to find pieces of information were restaurants and hotels. Lin Feng quickly found a restaurant which was also a tea house. However, the water they used to make tea was black. Lin Feng drank a cup of tea and sensed the death energy flow throughout his body. He knew that taste. He was drinking more black water. Of course, the death chi of this black water wasn't intense. The other people in the restaurant also drank black water, but they looked normal. It was a normal thing to do for them. It was just like tea in other worlds. "Why do I have the feeling that this place is not connected to any other world?" muttered Lin Feng. This place was very strange. People here had their own drink, black water. Did it mean that they practiced death cultivation, and that they didn't die easily? "Waitress!" shouted Lin Feng, calling her over. She ran towards him and smiled. "How may I help you?" "I'd like to ask you something. Have you ever heard of the continent of the 9 Clouds?" asked Lin Feng. The waitress smiled. "I don't know if the continent of the 9 Clouds exist or not. But I know that many years ago, I heard some people talk about strange things. They said that this world wasn't the only world, that there were other worlds. I don't know if it's true or not." Chapter 1848, Shrine. "Well, what would I do if I wanted to go to another world?" Lin Feng asked the waitress with a friendly smile. Many people turned around and looked at him. Was this guy insane? He was only a Zun cultivator. How could he go to another world? "Dear guest, you're embarrassing me. You should go and ask the 10 Yama kings of the 10 Yama courts, and if they can't help you, then you should ask the great emperor of hell." "Why would you ask me?" "I have no idea," replied the waitress, shrugging and smiling. "Do you want to eat anything, dear guest?" Lin Feng took out a low-level imperial weapon. It was golden and dazzling. He said to the waitress, "Bring me something to eat. If you answer some more questions, I'll give you this thing." "Dear guest, that weapon is very strange," said the waitress, staring at the imperial weapon. "It must be gold cosmic energy, but it's different. Something is missing from it," thought people in the restaurant, studying Lin Feng's imperial weapon. Someone stood up and walked over to Lin Feng. That person stretched out their hand and released gold cosmic energies. Their cosmic energies contained hell strength. Lin Feng was startled. Cosmic energies here were different. In this world, cosmic energies are different from cosmic energies in the continent of the 9 Clouds. It's just like me, my cosmic energies are different in the continent of the 9 Clouds. But here, the difference between their cosmic energies and those in the continent of the 9 Clouds is clear and distinct. In the continent of the 9 Clouds, apart from me, nobody can sense that my cosmic energies are different. Lin Feng shivered. Could this world be another great world? If that was the case, It meant that the world in his spirit could also become a great world. Small worlds were created by people. What about great worlds? If a great world emerged in Lin Feng's spirit, then he would be the creator. Lin Feng had created the world in his spirit. He was stunned. That was another great mystery, a mystery of life. Maybe the whole world was made of small worlds, the real worlds of cultivation. Where does your hellish weapon come from? The strong cultivator to Lin Feng. He sensed that that imperial weapon contained mysteriously different cosmic energies. I picked it up, Lin Feng replied calmly. He smiled at the waitress. Waitress, do you know who the strongest person in hell is? Dear guest, you're joking. The strongest person in hell is the almighty god of hell, of course, said the waitress naturally. The god of hell was the god of that world. Even though nobody had ever seen him, they all believed he had created the world. Have you ever seen him? Asked Lin Feng naturally. I don't know anyone who has ever seen him, said the waitress, smiling and shaking her head. Do you know where he practices cultivation? Said Lin Feng. In the hell shrine, I guess, smiled the waitress. Lin Feng frowned. Hell shrine? A shrine? The god of hell was the creator of this world, and he also had a shrine, which meant that the hell shrine was probably the most powerful group in this world. Who are you? Asked the strong cultivator, staring at Lin Feng. His eyes were pitch black. Lin Feng's questions were unusual. He was a Hell Zun cultivator. How could he not know about those things, and why did he ask strange questions? The emperor found Lin Feng suspicious. He had a hell weapon with different cosmic energies, and he asked strange and complex questions. This guy was strange. Everybody in the restaurant was staring at Lin Feng. They also thought that he was strange. Lin Feng drank some black water and put his glass back on the table. He raised his head and looked back at the man. He suddenly said coolly, "If I told you I were from another world, would you believe me?" The teapot the waitress was holding in her hand exploded. Everybody stopped talking and stared at him. From another world? What world? Asked the emperor. The continent of the 9 clouds, replied Lin Feng. Everybody stared at him. The continent of the 9 clouds? Another world? Lin Feng stretched his hand and golden lights twinkled. He released empty space cosmic energy. He raised his hand and smiled wryly. He mused, I thought I would be able to be cleansed by more Kulpa strength. Cosmic strength, but you're a Zun cultivator. On top of that, surprisingly, you control cosmic energies better than ordinary hell emperors, noted the emperor, staring at Lin Feng. He was surprised. I come from another world. Maybe you don't receive cosmic energies the same way we do, smiled Lin Feng. People slowly started to believe him. He really came from another world. Everybody, do you know how I could go back to my own world? Asked Lin Feng. After all, he was from another world. People in there had no reason to attack him. We're in one of the 10 main cities of hell, the great Imperial Song City. Even though I don't know how you came here, if you want to go back, I'll think you'll need to find the leader of the city, Great Emperor Song. He's one of the city leaders. Maybe he knows about the mysteries of this world. But you're just a small Hell Zun cultivator or small Hell Emperor, you will never be able to meet Great Emperor Song, spoke up an emperor next to Lin Feng. Apart from the leaders of the 10 main cities of hell, they knew that there were the 10 Yama King's courts which ruled over hell. They had also guessed that there were other worlds, but now Lin Feng was confirming it. The Great Imperial Song City, repeated Lin Feng. One of the 10 main cities of hell. How strong was Great Emperor Song? With his cultivation level, he wouldn't be able to meet such a cultivator. My name is Zhang Heng, and yours? Asked the emperor sitting down at Lin Feng's table. Lin Feng didn't mind. The cultivator was curious about him. He wanted to know what the continent of the 9 clouds looked like. Lin Feng. Lin Feng, Great Emperor Song has a great army. If you want to meet Great Emperor Song, you might consider becoming one of his soldiers, Zhang Heng said to Lin Feng. But those troops are powerfully strong, almost invincible. If you want to become one of their members, it will be very difficult. I want to go to the Great Imperial Song City to try and become one. I don't have much hope though, Zhang Heng said to him. Lin Feng actually needed people's help, otherwise, he wouldn't be able to do anything in hell. What do you mean by invincible? Lin Feng asked him. Great Emperor Song's army is composed of the most heroic fighters. Every day there are battles, and to become a member of Great Emperor Song's troops, you must win 100 times without losing. Zhang Heng explained to Lin Feng. People who can win 100 times without losing must be incredible warriors. Are they willing to become soldiers? Asked Lin Feng. Many people looked at him strangely, so Lin Feng understood that he had said something wrong. Lin Feng, you're from another world, you don't understand how powerful the armies of the main cities are. Hell only has 10 main cities, and their 10 leaders are powerful cultivators. They control all the resources of Hell. You have to become a member of the army if you want to have access to those resources. That's also the only way for you to become truly strong, Zhang Heng explained to him. Lin Feng nodded. Hell was another world. It was different from the continent of the 9 clouds. But there are only 10 cities in Hell and there are battles every day. Where do all those fighters come from? Asked Lin Feng. He was curious. Zhang Heng smiled wryly. If you knew how many people there are in the 10 main cities, you wouldn't ask. Besides, new strong cultivators appear every day in Hell. Strong cultivators aren't lacking. Maybe Hell and the world I come from are really completely different, smiled Lin Feng. At that moment, in the continent of the 9 clouds, outside of the forbidden area of Jiuyu, someone wearing white clothes opened their eyes. Their gaze was filled with sharp lights. That person stared at the forbidden area. If the celestial master of the 7 knights had been there, he would have been astonished, because that person was Lin Feng, who had gone into Hell. My real body went to Hell. I don't know when I'll be able to come out. It seems that everything is strange in the greater world. I need to control my real body now though, murmured Lin Feng. His eyes were twinkling. The problem is now that I have left my body, I only have 1/3 of my strength, and there are many kinds of strength I can't use. I have to be very careful or my physical body will get injured. Then, Lin Feng's clone's silhouette flickered. He left that place and headed to Ba Huang. Lin Feng hadn't reached that level though. If one of his clones died, his physical body would be badly injured. Lin Feng perfectly understood that. He was now going back to Ba Huang to see Xiao Chen. Then, he would also need to find Hu Yu and Mu Lin Shui. They were waiting for him in Jiang'e. At the same time, he needed to tell Jiang'e's people to officially take control over the small world. The passage between Ba Huang and the small world was already open, and anyone could go in and out. Additionally, the passage between the great world and the small world was already under Tiantai's control. When the news spread throughout Ba Huang, people were stupefied. Tiantai had already started rising in the great world, and some people even realized that the legendary passage between the small world and the great world was open. They were free to enter and exit the small world as they wished. Many people even started heading to the great world to travel. In Hell, in the great imperial Song City, in the battlefield outside of the city, there were many people gathered here, some arriving and some leaving constantly. In the northern part of the battlefield, there were bleachers, and in the middle of the bleachers, there was a gate, the first city gate of the great imperial Song City. Among the 10 Yama Court's kings, everybody knew that Great Emperor Song was the one who loved fighting the most. Battles were incredible in the great imperial Song City, and those who stood out quickly drew his attention. Hell and the continent of the 9 clouds were different. In the continent of the 9 clouds, there were all sorts of powerful groups. In Hell, the 10 Yama Courts were symbols, and the strongest groups of Hell. The strongest cultivators were also in the 10 main cities. At that moment, in the bleachers, many people were watching the battles. All the fighters were incredible. That guy is one of the leaders of Hell. He controls Kalasutra strength. The girl next to him is his daughter, the Kalasutra princess. And the young man there is one of Great Emperor Song's descendants, someone pointed out. Many people were startled. One of the leaders of Hell had come to watch battles? Maybe some incredible fighters were going to appear. No wonder he's one of the leaders, he looks incredible. His daughter or even Great Emperor Song's descendants all look extraordinary and extremely strong, thought the crowd. Having the opportunity to be selected as one of the leaders of Hell was incredible. One had to be extremely strong, able to oppress everyone in Hell. They could be chosen from anywhere in Hell, but they had to be celestial emperors at the least. Zhang Heng and Lin Feng were also in the bleachers watching the battles. Zhang Heng looked at the man who controlled Kalasutra strength and said, "That guy wields Kalasutra strength, and he controls one territory of hell as a minister. He's very powerful." Great Emperor Song grants people such privileges in the great imperial Song city. Most people who become ministers come from those battle stages. Lin Feng nodded. In the jargon of the continent of the Nine Clouds, those parts of hell controlled by people were maybe like small worlds, so if one could control a small world in hell, then one had lots of advantages and access to many different resources. People in hell seemed more straightforward than back home, too. Zhang Heng, there are so many battle stages and I'm only a low-level hell emperor, but even if a low-level hell emperor wins 100 battles without losing, can they really draw Great Emperor Song's attention? I think that it must be difficult to draw his attention, mused Lin Feng. There were many people fighting everywhere, on different battle stages for different levels. For each cultivation level, there were 80 battle stages, which meant that there were 80 battle stages for low-level emperors. Of course, Great Emperor Song is only one of the 10 Yama Court's kings. To draw his attention, you must be extremely strong. Even though it's difficult to win 100 battles without losing, it's also only to become a member of the army. If you want to draw his attention, you must also be a heroic member of the army. Zhang Heng told Lin Feng, "Of course, there's a shortcut which can help you stand out on the battle stage." "What shortcut?" asked Lin Feng. "If you do all your battles one after the other quickly, or if you challenge someone who already has lots of victories, then it can help," said Zhang Heng. "Each time you complete 10 battles, you can choose to have a rest, or you can choose to continue fighting on the second day. Your opponents have to be stronger and stronger. If you can complete all your battles one after the other quickly, very strong people will come and fight against you. If you can really complete 100 battles without losing, then you'll amaze everyone," laughed Zhang Heng. "But 100 battles without losing and without resting is something difficult to achieve. Don't try that, you will have many chances to lose if you do. After all, the chances to win are smaller as you progress in the battles, especially since your opponents become stronger and stronger." "Your solution is not bad," said Lin Feng calmly. Zhang Heng looked at Lin Feng strangely and smiled. "Do you want to try that?" "I'm thinking about it," nodded Lin Feng. Zhang Heng laughed and said, "All right, I can't wait to see how strong you are. I will fight on a different battle stage and we will see who's stronger." While talking, they also looked for a battle stage which corresponded to their level. Lin Feng didn't go up on one immediately, he first watched some battles. Many people in hell controlled death cosmic energy. After all, they drank black water every day. The circumstances were perfect. Chapter 1850. He Lao, the Kalasutra minister, was one of the leaders of hell. He was watching the high-level hell emperors' battles. Even though the great emperors of hell organized the battles, he used them to recruit army members. There was no battle stage for great emperors. At that level, Great Emperor Song could grant them a position if they desired one. If they were strong, they could obtain a high position. If they were ordinary great emperors, then they had to go through the same painstaking procedure. Therefore, high-level emperors were the highest-level contestants. The young man and the young woman next to Minister Kalasutra watched the other battle stages. Minister Kalasutra's daughter was a low-level emperor, and Great Emperor Song's descendant was a medium-level emperor. His name was Wang Zhua. He was one of Great Emperor Song's direct descendants, and had already fought on the battle stage. He had won 100 battles without losing and without having a rest, a testament to his strength. When he was still a low-level hell emperor, medium-level hell emperors already feared him, not because of his social status, but because of his strength. Great Emperor Song loved war, and he loved people who were strong. If his children weren't strong, he didn't care about them. Great Emperor Song was very old, and had many descendants. There was a fierce competition between them, and they relied solely on strength to climb up the hierarchy. "Wang Zhua, how many people do you think will win 100 battles without losing? Is the person you mentioned already on stage?" asked Minister Kalasutra. He wasn't dark at all, he was very pale, as if he had never been exposed to the sun. However, it was said that the Kalasutra Hell was a powerful place filled with fire. The fact that Minister Kalasutra was so pale was very strange. He wasn't the only one. His daughter Qin Yao was also very white, even paler, but she wasn't ugly. She was considered extremely beautiful, especially her eyes. People didn't dare look at her eyes. "Minister, look at him," said Wang Zhuo pointing at someone. That person was very tall, he looked stupid, but on the battle stage, he looked powerful. "How strong? Is he agile, though?" "He's a bit tall," observed Minister Kalasutra with a laugh, but he knew it wasn't true. He wasn't fast, but it seemed difficult to escape from him because he immediately overwhelmed his opponents. Wang Zhuo smiled. "His name is He Lao. When he attacks, people are like in a cage. No matter how fast you are, it's useless against him because he will imprison you in a cage as hard as a dungeon. He's only a low-level Hell Emperor, but today he will probably win 100 battles without losing. If you like him, he can join Kalasutra Hell," said Wang Zhuo confidently. He Lao controlled death, weight, and empty space cosmic energies. He looked stupid, but he wasn't. In fact, he was very smart. Qin Yao smiled back, looking even more beautiful. Wang Zhuo was convinced that she could defeat 9 other champions. She was very happy. In the great imperial Song City, even a minister's daughter had to respect the rules. She had to rely on strength to obtain privileges. Down in the bleachers, many young men looked sharp and ready to fight. They already knew that the minister's daughter was there to fight against them. It wouldn't be easy. He Lao is going to get his 100 victories. It's his last battle. I wonder who will dare come and fight against him, thought many people. At that moment, someone jumped onto the battle stage. It was a handsome young man in white clothes. Everybody was astonished, not because he looked extremely strong, but because he looked like a Hellzoon cultivator. "Show me your real cultivation level," challenged someone, rising up in the air to face Lin Feng. Even though people were free on battle stages, there were still rules. Otherwise, the battles would have been totally chaotic. Lin Feng was a Hellzoon cultivator, but maybe he was hiding his cultivation level. Lin Feng nodded and released cosmic strength. When that person sensed Lin Feng's energies, he nodded. "Low-level Emperor, fine, you can fight." He went back into the crowd. "This person is strange," observed Minister Kalasutra, looking at Lin Feng. He didn't understand. Lin Feng was using a technique to hide his cultivation level, and even the minister couldn't see his real cultivation level. Even though he's using a powerful technique to hide his cultivation level, he can't defeat He Lao, proclaimed Wang Zhuo. At the same time, He Lao jumped like a demon and thunder rang out. He Lao raised his gigantic hand, which looked as big as a praying mat. He used the same technique to fight against Lin Feng as he had used against everyone else. No low-level emperor could resist him. "The battle is over," said Wang Zhuo, smiling confidently. He Lao's hand came crushing down, until suddenly he sensed a powerful strength coming at him. A cage appeared around him. He was imprisoned. He Lao's own attack. The crowd was stunned. He Lao was imprisoned. The young man destroyed He Lao's attack explosively and moved so fast he couldn't be seen, before punching out in He Lao's direction. Explosive impacts shook the air, and He Lao was pounded relentlessly. Surprisingly, He Lao started reeling. The young man in front of him was so slim, but was as motionless as a mountain. Wang Zhuo's confidence immediately disappeared from his face, unable to hide his astonishment. Chapter 1851, Blue Uptila Lotus and Hellfire. Wang Zhuo wasn't the only one who was stunned, as everybody else around was astonished too. Lin Feng looked ordinary, but he had managed to defeat He Lao. That definitely wasn't normal. He had even used the same method as He Lao. He Lao was extremely strong and an expert at using earth energies. It even seemed that his body was made of cosmic energies. On the battle stage, nobody had been able to withstand a single attack from him. However, Lin Feng had attacked him and pushed him to the edge of the battle stage. He Lao raised his head and stared at Lin Feng. He didn't understand, how had Lin Feng used the same strength as he had? He Lao had created his own attack using some kind of evolution spell as well, so how could Lin Feng imitate him and carry out a more powerful attack than his own? Only Lin Feng knew that he had used pure strength. You also control death, earth, and empty space cosmic energies? He Lao asked Lin Feng, narrowing his eyes. Indeed, answered Lin Feng, nodding and releasing the 3 sorts of cosmic energies. What spell did you use just now? He Lao pressed. I don't know, said Lin Feng, shaking his head. I learned the spell from you. When He Lao heard Lin Feng, he was dumbfounded. He turned around and left the battle stage. Someone had learned his spell that quickly, and that guy's physical strength was greater than his own. He Lao looked stupid, but he was a fast learner, not stupid. He knew that Lin Feng was stronger than him, so he simply left. You're not always right, said Qin Yao, smiling at Wang Zhuo. Wang Zhuo just smiled wryly. I often make mistakes. There are many strong cultivators in the great imperial Song City. I hadn't thought that someone stronger than He Lao would show up today. This guy is a real genius if he defeated He Lao. He must have the strength of a medium-level Hell Emperor already. How curious! Did he learn that spell from He Lao? Asked Minister Kalasutra. If Lin Feng hadn't lied, he had incredible comprehensive ability. He had just watched He Lao for a little while and had learned his spell? That was incredible! In the bleachers, there was someone with a white fan, and each time he shook it, snowflakes appeared. He watched Lin Feng with a smile. Do you think this guy can get 100 victories? He imitated He Lao's spell and overpowered him with strength. Maybe he can get 100 victories, said someone else in a pavilion. Someone else wearing linen clothes smiled. That person looked like a poor and pedantic scholar, however, nobody underestimated him. His name was Prince Mai. Everybody knew about him. His inescapable net spell was enigmatic and could kill people quickly. Not necessarily. He will also have to face some very strong opponents. I've heard that the Prince of the 6 Abysses has come to participate to the battles. If that's the case, I'm sure he'll get 100 victories. So we'll see if he manages to win 100 times, said the smiling young man with the fan. Prince of the 6 Abysses? The people in the pavilion were shocked. One of them said, if he comes, it's going to get interesting. He's maybe as strong as us. People who managed to get 100 victories were all extraordinary. They're all very self-confident, observed Minister Kalasutra approvingly, looking at the young people in the pavilions. If someone manages to win 100 times in a streak, they are qualified enough to be self-confident, replied Wang Zhuo earnestly. He sounded as self-confident as before. Even if he had made a mistake about He Lao, each time he talked, it was as if fate depended on his beliefs. Minister Kalasutra understood that Wang Zhuo was self-confident, but he was also right. 100 victories in a row was really incredible, and people who managed to do that were qualified to be self-confident, indeed. Besides, Wang Zhuo himself had defeated 100 people in a row without having a rest. He had even defeated famous people. Therefore, he had the right to be self-confident, too. Especially with great Emperor Song's blood flowing in his veins. He Lao and Lin Feng had battled, so he had seen how strong Lin Feng was. However, there would probably be other people who wouldn't believe that Lin Feng was stronger. Therefore, more people stepped onto Lin Feng's battle stage. However, they quickly realized that Lin Feng hadn't won against He Lao accidentally. He really was astonishingly strong. Each time someone stepped onto his battle stage, Lin Feng punched them and defeated them. Most of them were hurled off the battle stage. Lin Feng got his first 10 victories very easily and seemed relaxed. 10 victories. He's strong, but does he know how to do anything else? Besides, is he that familiar with the spell cage spell he imitated from He Lao? Thought the observers. At that moment, someone who looked like a gigantic goose flapped his wings and remained suspended above the battle stage, releasing cosmic energies. He had golden eyes that were staring at Lin Feng. Suddenly he disappeared. Lin Feng sensed a powerful and sharp qi moving towards him. The gigantic and powerful goose charged towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng raised his fist as he vanished into the wind. It was the same old punch. However, his speed was even more higher as he used wind cosmic energies. Everybody saw how strong the goose was. That guy wasn't going to use cosmic energies against Lin Feng. Imprison, said Lin Feng. A cage appeared, But Lin Feng's cage wasn't as perfect as He Lao's. That cage immediately broke when the goose attacked it. But Lin Feng could see the goose moving clearly, and his fist homed in on it as he stared at the goose's golden eyes. The goose suddenly couldn't move anymore, and had the sensation that his spirit was going to be destroyed. Even though he's not as familiar with the cage as He Lao, he is strong enough to use it in a battle against his opponents, observed Wang Zhuo calmly. He sounded trustworthy and credible. Everybody realized that Lin Feng was different and abnormally strong. He had defeated He Lao, and now he had also defeated the goose. When Lin Feng won 60 times, fewer and fewer people seemed willing to go up onto the battle stage. Lin Feng was calmly standing there. He didn't look tired at all. He had easily won 60 matches. Zhang Heng was on another battle stage and the battles weren't so easy for him. He had just won 40 times in a row, and he looked exhausted. In the bleachers, 4 people appeared, 2 in front, 2 behind them. In the front were a middle-aged man and a young woman. Minister Kalasutra's skin was extremely white, but that middle-aged man was even whiter, like snow. He looked like he was sick. However, considering where he was standing, he couldn't possibly be ill. The young woman was even whiter, but still extremely beautiful. She was much better looking than the man. Minister Uptala. Wang Zhuo stood up and greeted the newcomers politely. He nodded and smiled at Minister Uptala and the young woman next to him, and then quickly looked away. Wang Zhuo knew that with women, if you didn't look at them, they thought you were impolite, and if you looked at them a bit too long, then they thought you wanted to sleep with them. Therefore, the best way was to try and not overdo things. Uptala, you're here too. Minister Kalasutra replied with a smile. They were both leaders in Hell. Minister Uptala controlled Uptala Hell. They were both high officials of the 10 Yama courts. I've heard that many things were going to happen, said Minister Uptala smiling and sitting down next to them. Qin Yao, my girl, you're here? I came at the right time. Let's watch together, proposed Minister Kalasutra smiling and pointing at one of the battle stages. It was Lin Feng's battle stage. That little boy is quite strong. Nobody can defeat him. He's won 62 battles already and he hasn't rested at all. Uptala, you think he will make 100 times? Let's watch and see, replied Minister Uptala. He continued watching as Lin Feng continued winning. 100 victories won't be a problem for him, Uptala said to Minister Kalasutra. What if he doesn't? Replied Minister Kalasutra sharply. Minister Uptala glanced at Qin Yao. He perfectly understood what Minister Kalasutra meant. The other also thought Lin Feng could win 100 times, but he wouldn't let him. If he doesn't, I'll offer Qin Yao a blue Uptala lotus, replied Minister Uptala with a smile. But what if he does win 100 times? Uptala, protested Minister Kalasutra. Since Minister Uptala said he'd offer a blue Uptala lotus to Qin Yao, he couldn't miss this opportunity. If he doesn't, I'll offer some hellfire to your daughter, countered Minister Kalasutra swiftly. Chapter 1852. Blade Technique ET Sword Technique. Minister Uptala controlled Uptala Hell. Blue Uptala lotuses represented his strength and were at the origin of the 10,000 things of creation. Hellfire represented Minister Kalasutra's strength. That fire was destructive and powerful. The two things were precious items for Hell Emperors. If they didn't take them out even though they had said so, it would be a humiliation. How great! I will pay attention to the battles even more then, exclaimed Wang Zhuo when he heard the two ministers make a bet. He was surprised, but he was great Emperor Song's direct descendant and he had seen many things in his life. He said that to make the two ministers calm down in a friendly manner. When people around the pavilions heard them, they were startled too. There were tensions between the two ministers. They were arguing indirectly. Of course, they were ministers under great Emperor Song. At their cultivation levels they couldn't fight for real, so they bet on Lin Feng's results. Both Minister Uptala's blue Uptala lotus and Minister Kalasutra's hellfire were precious items. For Hell Emperors, those things were priceless and very useful. For the two ministers, they weren't as priceless, and they didn't need them. Minister Uptala, you have faith in that young man, smiled Minister Kalasutra. Minister Uptala stretched out his slender white hand and smiled. Minister Kalasutra, If you didn't think he could get 100 victories, you wouldn't have asked me anything. He perfectly understood that when Minister Kalasutra had asked him that question, he already had an answer himself. Minister Kalasutra also thought Lin Feng could win, but now the circumstances were different. That was a moment before. Now, I don't think he can win anymore, Minister Kalasutra smiled. He looked at Wang Zhuo. Wang Zhuo, what do you think of that lad? Wang Zhuo looked at Minister Kalasutra. His expression didn't change as he replied calmly. We'll see who gets onto the battle stage. Wang Zhuo glanced at Qin Yao. Minister Kalasutra understood what Wang Zhuo meant. When Minister Kalasutra heard Wang Zhuo, he smiled. This young man didn't want to offend anyone, so he answered politely. Lin Feng didn't know that the people in the bleachers were looking at him. He didn't know about the minister's bet either. He had already won 72 battles. For him, fighting at the level of low-level Hell Emperors, winning 100 times wasn't difficult. Even in the great Imperial Song City, it wasn't easy to find a low-level Hell Emperor who was as strong as Ji Wuyo. Ji Wuyo's fighting abilities had been powerful. It was rare for low-level emperors to be that strong. Usually people who were that strong had a special body. Lin Feng was convinced that there were powerfully strong cultivators in this place, but they weren't seen every day. Han Feng's 7 strikes blade technique always kills people. A year ago, he also came onto the battle stage. He won 85 times, but he was exhausted and had to rest. Prince Mai had jumped onto the battle stage then too. Now a year has passed. He must have become much stronger, everybody was commenting. Han Feng had practiced cultivation really hard during the past year. Han Feng took out a black blade, shaped like a crescent moon. It wasn't like a sword, that blade cut people. Han Feng's blade technique was about killing as fast as possible. Han Feng cut the air with his blade, not speaking any nonsense. His black blade contained powerfully aggressive energies. He charged Lin Feng with an indomitable will. Lin Feng stared at the blade. It was a death hell blade, and contained some wind and earth energies. Han Feng looked extremely aggressive and was also extremely fast. His 7 strikes laceration technique was powerful, aggressive, fearless, and heroic. His blade could kill people in the blink of an eye. Lin Feng sensed the energy surrounding him. How aggressive, brutal, and violent. Lin Feng's eyes became pitch black. He started using the Celestial Evolution Holy Scriptures to imitate his opponent's technique. He could suddenly clearly see how powerful the blade was. Such an aggressive blade technique could possibly kill medium-level emperors. However, because he was extremely aggressive, he probably had a weakness in his defense. He didn't seem to pay attention to defense. Few people could actually counterattack after such a powerful blade attack. Usually, the first strike was enough. The first strike hadn't even reached Lin Feng before the second blade had already appeared. It was as if blades were falling from the sky like shooting stars, all of them dazzling. Few people could fight against him. His blade attacks could easily cut people apart. Even Minister Kalasutra was amazed and said, "What an incredible blade technique. If he moved a little bit faster, then his technique would be even more powerful." Minister Kalasutra was clearly helping out Han Feng. As expected, Han Feng heard Minister Kalasutra and immediately released more wind cosmic energy. His attack became even sharper. However, there were exceptions. As Han Feng's blade attack moved forwards, a kind of sword strength descended from the sky. It was like 1,000,000 death swords were falling from the sky. He could sense the sharp energies. He looked at Lin Feng and saw 2 eyes, the eyes of the 9 netherworlds. His willpower started shaking. He had solely focused on his own attack. He hadn't expected that Lin Feng would use such an attack against him. Now it was a bit complicated to react. Even if his attack was exceptional, if his opponents killed him before he had time to deploy them, then what was the point? Therefore, Han Feng retreated, having a bad premonition. His blade energies suddenly disappeared. Han Feng raised his head as drops of sweat appeared on his forehead. Everybody's eyes were wide open. They didn't understand why the blade couldn't move towards Lin Feng, and why Han Feng was withdrawing. Actually, Han Feng didn't only move backwards, he suddenly turned around and jumped off the stage. He declared, "I lost." He had lost, so staying on the battle stage was useless. Chapter 1853. Last battle. The Nihility sword scriptures allowed a cultivator to learn more about sword intent. The sword meaning could advance to void, nihilism. Lin Feng hadn't studied the Nihility sword scriptures for very long, so he didn't control the sword techniques of the scriptures that well. With his Nihility sword, he couldn't kill Han Feng. However, Han Feng was smart and understood that Lin Feng's Nihility sword was more powerful than his 7 blades laceration technique. His attack was perfect, but it wasn't enough against Lin Feng. Everybody was staring at Lin Feng. They knew Lin Feng could win before the battle had started, but they hadn't though Han Feng would surrender. They didn't even know what had happened. Lin Feng hadn't even moved. Han Feng had just retreated and surrendered outright. They knew that Han Feng couldn't possibly have let Lin Feng win on purpose. At their cultivation level, nobody did that, only children or puerile people did such things. Lin Feng had probably used a secret technique, and Han Feng had given up. 82 victories. He's getting closer and closer to 100 victories, thought the crowd watching Lin Feng. Minister Uptala smiled gently and said, I sensed some sword energy. That boy hasn't shown us all he can do. No matter who gets on the battle stage, I don't think anyone can win. Of course, Minister Uptala was talking loudly enough for Minister Kalasutra to hear. Minister Kalasutra smiled back. What if Qing Qing fought against him? I don't know, replied Minister Uptala cheerfully. She could win or lose. He smiled at Qin Yao and asked, Qin Yao, you think you can definitely defeat him? Of course. Qin Yao replied confidently. Minister Uptala just looked away. Qin Yao was definitely going to fight. Minister Kalasutra had bet with him, so Qin Yao had to use her full strength against Lin Feng. Minister Uptala looked at Lin Feng and smiled. Even fewer people wanted to fight against him. At that moment, Minister Kalasutra openly said, 82 victories. Isn't there any low-level Hell Emperor in the great Imperial Song City who can defeat this young man? Many people's eyes twinkled. Lin Feng was incredibly strong. Defeating Lin Feng wasn't about the 100 victories anymore. It was even more meaningful. When Minister Uptala heard Minister Kalasutra, he looked at Lin Feng and said, Young man, if you get 100 victories, I'll give you a blue Uptala lotus. Blue Uptala lotus. The crowd all turned to look in astonishment. If Lin Feng wins 100 times, Minister Uptala will give him a blue Uptala lotus. What's wrong with the ministers? Why are they competing like that? The blue Uptala lotus contains the strength of the 10,000 things of creation, and now he's saying he's willing to give one to that guy? The audience was amazed. Lin Feng naturally heard everything. He raised his head and looked at Minister Uptala in surprise. If Lin Feng lost, Minister Uptala would have to give Qin Yao a blue Uptala lotus, and his own daughter Qing Qing wouldn't be able to obtain the hellfire. Everybody was watching Lin Feng at that moment. Lin Feng's strength was extraordinary. Amongst low-level Hell Emperors, he was indeed extremely strong. He had won 99 battles and hadn't had a rest at all. However, he didn't look like he needed one. How different would the 100th battle be? Especially now that he was going to fight against Qin Yao after she had defeated the Prince of the Six Abysses? The crowd didn't dare predict the result of the fight. After all, the Prince of the Six Abysses was a powerful cultivator and Qin Yao had defeated him, which meant she was even stronger. The Prince of the Six Abysses had looked so weak when facing her. Therefore, Lin Feng would probably struggle to win 100th time. People were used to seeing incredible battles with extremely strong geniuses. Many incredible cultivators liked fighting against someone once they had reached 99 victories. It was a dazzling way to win. If she managed to defeat Lin Feng, whom nobody else managed to defeat, then everybody would admire her. This guy has won 99 battles, but now he's probably going to lose since Qin Yao is much stronger and has hellfire, thought some people. Qin Yao turned around and looked at Lin Feng. She smiled thinly and sat down in the flames. She looked very beautiful in the flames, but scary too. I'm sorry. You won 99 battles and that's a great achievement, but now it's going to be difficult to win the last one, smiled Qin Yao. However, she didn't sound like she was really sorry. She just sounded polite. Even ministers' daughters didn't rely on their parents, they relied on themselves. Great Emperor Song loved fighting, so young people also started from there. In the past, Qin Yao was only famous in Kalasutra Hell. The first time she had fought in the great imperial Song city, it hadn't been to draw people's attention, but she had anyway. Her purpose was to become strong. Fighting was inevitable and pleasant, so even without the ministers there, people fought anyway. Lin Feng looked back at Qin Yao calmly. He knew she was self-confident, but she had what it took to be confident. She was Minister Kalasutra's daughter, she had inherited his powerful blood. Such people were rare. Of course, what Qin Yao didn't know was that Lin Feng was also self-confident, even more than she. Princess, you're quite strong. However, nobody can prevent me from winning 100 times. Replied Lin Feng calmly, yet aggressively. Nobody could prevent him from winning 100 times, including Minister Kalasutra's daughter. Alright, we'll see something now. When Minister Uptala heard Lin Feng, he laughed wholeheartedly. This battle was going to be interesting. Even if Lin Feng lost, he'd be happy to give him a blue Uptala lotus. I respect you and truly believe you're extremely strong, so I will be merciless. Be careful. It could be dangerous. Smiled Qin Yao, nodding at Lin Feng. Lin Feng replied, Princess, you're too polite. Please attack. Flames suddenly emerged from Qin Yao's body. It looked like hell had come to the battle stage, covering it in black flames. The temperature shot up, and the crackling and snapping of flames filled the air. The powerful fire surrounded Qin Yao's body and she disappeared within it. At that moment, some flames started moving and raced towards Lin Feng. He was startled, as these flames could easily destroy a medium-level emperor. His physical body had the strength of a medium-level emperor, but still, that fire was dangerous. After that, a third hellfire appeared and rose to the skies. The whole battle stage was surrounded by hellfire. The crowd was certain Lin Feng was going to lose. A vortex of hellfire surrounded Lin Feng and spun around. Qin Yao's powers are similar to Ho Qin Lin's reincarnation strength. If he came here to practice cultivation for a while, he'd definitely benefit from it, thought Lin Feng. The temperature continued increasing, and Lin Feng began to feel hot. The three flames became gigantic and descended from the sky towards Lin Feng. Hell was falling on him. Qin Yao's silhouette appeared again and she struck out in Lin Feng's direction. Lin Feng couldn't escape, and the fires could destroy him. How powerful, thought Lin Feng. His heart started racing and he finally moved. He flashed away, dazzling lights appeared all around as he sealed the atmosphere around him. The fire couldn't affect him anymore. He then released immortal strength, looking like a god. His eyes turned pitch black as he struck out using earth punches, trying to destroy one of the flames. The ground was shaking violently. Lin Feng then used his setting sun meteorite to attack the second fire. Sword lights cut the air and sliced it apart. He waved his hand and a destructive deployment strength manifested as his purple tank reappeared. It was like an ocean and moved towards the third flame. Lin Feng released Devamara Kalpa strength and physical strength to protect himself as he struck out towards Qin Yao. The whole atmosphere was filled with destructive energies. Black flames appeared in Qin Yao's eyes. She wanted to destroy Lin Feng's will, but Lin Feng's demonic will was too powerful, he was absolutely unaffected. She sensed an endless amount of invisible sharp sword energy surround her, and immediately after, a wall of Devamara Kalpa punches moved towards her and collided with her fist. Black lights exploded and obscured everything. Qin Yao used hell strength, a destructive kind of power. However, at that moment, she sensed an even more destructive strength. Something blackish red splashed, it was her blood. Her mouth was bleeding, and she had the sensation that all the bones of her arm were broken. Chapter 1858. Godly Soul Culpa. Lin Feng used his hand to attack the earth and demon hammer. A powerful absorbing strength emerged from him. The attacker in the sky was startled as Lin Feng started absorbing his demon and earth strength. Imprison, said Lin Feng. In a flash, a cage appeared around the cultivator in the sky. At the same time, he flashed forwards and his Kulpa strength turned into Devamara Kulpa lightning filling the air. His target sensed the destructive energies surround them, and the millions of threads of Kulpa strength corroding their body. Lin Feng then used his 9 Cauldron Celestial attack to hurl him off the stage. Lin Feng's moves were fast, but the others kept calm and continued attacking from every direction. Their attacks were all fearsomely strong. Lin Feng's physical body was powerful, but he couldn't ignore their attacks. Death and destructive Kulpa meaning suddenly rose up and Lin Feng shouted out. 9 Kulpa swords appeared and moved in every direction. Lin Feng had studied the indestructible Devamara scriptures. His Kulpa strength was incredible. It turned into a sword and gave birth to sword meaning as it turned into a powerful attack. Lin Feng waved his hands, and 2 dazzling marks appeared and turned into an ancient destructive deployment spell which shot in every direction as he kept moving. Purple Lake Tank. Lin Feng shot out his right hand and his purple tank descended from the sky and fused together with the destructive deployment spell as he condensed wind cosmic energy. Lin Feng waved his left hand and condensed Devamara Kulpa strength, as well as shattering deployment strength. His fist looked like a powerful destructive Devamara Kulpa animal trying to destroy the earth and the sky. His strength was just too astonishing. What an invasive and powerful strength, thought Minister Uptala, leaning forwards in the bleachers. Lin Feng's attacks were majestic and powerful, and his cosmic energies were incredible. Ordinary Hell Emperors couldn't compete with him. He looked like a warlord. Heaven and hell, proclaimed an icy voice. Lin Feng had the sensation that he was falling into hell, and his whole body was suddenly surrounded by flames. He frowned and looked down at Prince Mai. As expected, that guy was incredibly strong. At that moment, 3 people had already been injured, 1 had been forced off the stage. However, the injured had come back already. They didn't care about their injuries, all they wanted to do was to defeat Lin Feng. How could they be scared? They were heroes. They all used their full strength. If Lin Feng won against them even though they were joining hands, that would be humiliating. Lin Feng sensed their energies and motivation. He released more layers of energies, and more Devamara Kulpa surrounded him. He also released immortal energies with his Devamara Kulpa strength. It looked like black lightning striking Lin Feng. Fall. Lin Feng put his talisman away and took another one. Time passed slowly. Lin Feng read some books. He realized that books in hell all involved hell strength. Many of them also involved netherworldly fire. There were also some powerful skills which involved powerful hell strength. There were millions and millions of spells, techniques, and ancient scriptures for all kinds of cultivators. Like in the continent of the 9 clouds, people in hell could also have different specialties and different techniques. You really like to chill. Qin Yao spoke up. After a long time, Lin Feng was still reading. He was a good cultivator and read books carefully. Qin Yao was losing her patience. I am not very intelligent. I need to broaden my knowledge, replied Lin Feng patiently. If you're bored, you can leave. You don't need to worry about me and spend time with me. Qin Yao looked at Lin Feng icily. Spend time with you? You're ridiculous. I just want to see what the one who defeated me enjoys doing in his spare time. I see. Then please don't disturb me, Lin Feng answered indifferently as he continued reading. He found a powerful skill book. He put his entire godly awareness into it and memorized the whole book. For those who could come in the library, it wasn't a priceless book, but in the outside world, it was. Of course, the people who could come to that library were all incredible. After a long time, Wang Zhuo had no time to wait anymore. He smiled at Lin Feng and left. Lin Feng was very patient. After half a day, he still didn't want to leave. However, Qin Yao didn't leave. She stayed with Lin Feng and also read some books. Lin Feng turned his head and noticed a very pale woman. Princess Qing Qing. What are you doing here? Asked Lin Feng. It was Princess Qing Qing, Minister Uptala's daughter. I wanted to find some ancient scriptures, said Qing Qing, smiling gently. Lin Feng, how long have you been here? The whole time. Lin Feng answered honestly. Ching Ching was startled and asked, "The whole time? You didn't visit other places?" "Indeed," nodded Lin Feng. Ching Ching smiled and blushed. "You've been here long enough then. You should come to my dad's office. He really likes you. He wants to teach you how to use the blue Uptila lotus." "Princess Ching Ching, have you already found books you needed?" asked Lin Feng. Ching Ching nodded and Lin Feng said, "Since it's that way, I can't refuse your offer then." "Great. My father will be so happy. And also, don't call me Princess Ching Ching, just call me Ching Ching, that's fine." They both laughed and left. Qin Yao was astonished. She watched them leave and glared at Lin Feng furiously. Those two. When Lin Feng left, he noticed that Jian Meng was still in there. That guy was also a hard worker. "Lin Feng, you stayed in the pavilion because you don't like visiting places?" Qing Qing asked him. She was very curious. He knew nothing about the city and only appeared to have the strength of a Zun cultivator. "Apart from the army buildings and the libraries, what else is interesting here?" asked Lin Feng. "There are some interesting places," smiled Qing Qing. "But now we're going to see my dad, you won't be disappointed." The two headed towards the private district. It was a place people normally couldn't go freely. Of course, there were some exceptions as Qing Qing took Lin Feng to a strange place inside it. The Uptila office seemed to be an empty field. It was covered by a white layer of energy, and almost invisible. It was also very calm and quiet. When Lin Feng arrived, Minister Uptila was seated there cross-legged and his eyes were closed. "Lin Feng." Minister Uptila suddenly opened his eyes, then smiled and nodded at Lin Feng. "Minister, I didn't want to disturb you," Lin Feng said to him. This man was nice and easy to get along with. Qing Qing was the same. "I'm happy to see you," said Minister Uptila. "Come, let's go and see the lotuses." Lin Feng walked with the minister to some lotus fields. They were all beautiful and contained the qi of the 10,000 things of creation. Lin Feng felt extremely good, buoyant and uplifted in soul. "What a strange qi," sighed Lin Feng. Minister Uptila smiled. "That's thanks to blue Uptila lotuses. Take out your lotus and look at it." Lin Feng nodded and took out his blue Uptila lotus. "Release cosmic energies," instructed Minister Uptila. Lin Feng released cosmic energies. In a flash, he sensed an incredible qi surround him, made up of all sorts of cosmic energies, as if the lotuses contained all the cosmic energies of the world. That blue Uptila lotus contains the qi of the 10,000 things of creation. You can control several sorts of cosmic energies. If you practice cultivation using the lotus, your cosmic energies will fuse together even better when you attack, explained Minister Uptila. Lin Feng's heart started racing. He hadn't thought the blue Uptila lotus would be so incredible. "Unless strong people from the outside world come here, with your imperial weapons and ancient scriptures, Jianghe should be fine for another 10,000 years. Indeed. They control their future, though," said Emperor Wu Tianjian. "Even if Jianghe didn't thrive for another 10,000 years, what could he do about it?" Lin Feng nodded. He had recreated Tiantai in the former territory of the 9 great celestial castles. Strong cultivators from the outside world wouldn't be very numerous in the small world anymore. If Jianghe didn't manage to rise, then they couldn't do much about it. Lin Feng left Emperor Wu Tianjian and went to a lake. There was a pavilion there with 2 beautiful women inside. Lin Feng had seen many beautiful women in his life, but those 2 women were indeed incredibly beautiful. Feng Xian was wearing a red skirt, she had a great figure and was very sexy, the whole image only helped by her powerful qi. Feng Ling wasn't the same cute little girl anymore, she was wearing a long and slim dress made of phoenix feathers. She looked like a phoenix queen, and her qi was much more powerful than Feng Xian's. "Lin Feng," the 2 girls greeting them. They were smiling widely at him. "Long time no see," answered Lin Feng, looking over these 2 incredibly beautiful women. "You came back to Ba Huang, and you didn't come see us. You don't like us anymore?" said Feng Ling. Even though she had broken through to the Huang Qi layer, she still sounded cute and pouted. "I have so much to do. Don't be angry at me, little girl." Lin Feng smiling at her. "Who's a little girl?" asked Feng Ling angrily. Lin Feng smiled wryly and poked her. Feng Ling wanted to dodge, but she couldn't move. She turned red and stared at Lin Feng. Haha, so are you a little girl or not? Challenged Lin Feng. Bastard, you're bullying me, said Feng Ling, kicking Lin Feng. Lin Feng bit his lips as he took the kick. She was strong. Alright, that's enough, Ling, said Feng Xian, rolling her eyes. You're an emperor and you're acting like a kid. Indeed. I'm the Empress of Qi Feng, stated Feng Ling. Lin Feng smiled and conceded. Alright, you're an empress, not a little girl. Lin Feng, how is the great world? Asked Feng Xian, ignoring Feng Ling. Right, how is the great world? Does the holy city exist? Asked Feng Ling, abruptly brimming with eager curiosity. The great world. Lin Feng remained silent for a few seconds before saying, I'll try to sum it up a little. Then, he explained to Feng Ling and Feng Xian some things about the great world. They understood that Ba Huang and Jiao Yu were the exits to the great world, that people from the 9 great celestial castles used to control it, and also that the 9 great celestial castles were under the orders of Qing Di Mountain. In the great world, there were many powerful groups like Qing Di. In the continent of the 9 clouds, there were several regions. Chapter 1862. Shui Bagio's memories. After Feng Xian and Feng Ling left, Lin Feng left Jianghe and went to the southern part of Ba Huang. Some people important to him were there. After seeing Feng Ling and Feng Xian, Lin Feng felt nostalgic. He had the feeling he had to see someone, one of the former 4 most beautiful women. Shui Bagio. There were many rumors and legends about Shui Bagio in Ba Huang. She had lost her memories, apparently. She had been attacked by someone to force her to marry Emperor Dong's son. Her life was mysterious, and she wanted to resurrect the celestial place of the alchemists. Lin Feng wanted to see her, and after that, he wouldn't have anything to worry about anymore in the small world. The small world of the celestial place of the alchemists was still filled with fog. There was a celestial building there, where a celestial woman was seated cross-legged. She appeared both calm and serene. Lin Feng hadn't thought he would find her so easily. He directly saw her when he arrived. What an incredible qi! She looks like she's a trance, murmured Lin Feng when he saw Shui Bagio meditating there. Shui Bagio opened her eyes. She looked surprised. Who are you? Lin Feng was startled by her words. He blinked at her. She looked back at him coldly. Have you never seen me? Asked Lin Feng. You look familiar. Who are you? Do we know one another? Asked Shui coldly, staring at Lin Feng. She doesn't remember. Lin Feng was very surprised. Last time he had seen her, she had already lost her memory, and then they had met again at the ceremony. So she should have remembered him, unless she had become amnesic again. My name is Lin Feng. We met when you were a disciple of the celestial place of the alchemists. I had accidentally ended up in your room. We've also fought, and then we became friends. Do you remember? Asked Lin Feng calmly. Shui Bagio shook her head and said, Lin Feng, I think I've seen you before, but I don't remember you. Lin Feng suddenly raised his hand and released a hand attack. Shui Bagio groaned icily. She suddenly rose up in the air and countered with a hand attack which contained both pure celestial and cold qi. The air around her began to freeze. Their 2 hands collided. Lin Feng sensed an ice-cold energy surround him. He was surprised as he flickered out of her view. Shui Bagio had become really strong. She wasn't weaker than low-level emperors in the great world. Shui Bagio groaned icily. She waved her hand and snowflakes appeared everywhere. She wanted to freeze Lin Feng. That's enough. Lin Feng shouted extremely loudly. Shui Bagio was startled and stared at Lin Feng's eyes as she sensed something invade her brain. Shui Bagio, you have a memory problem. If you want to follow me, maybe I can find an extremely strong cultivator to help you. If you don't want to, then I can just leave and I will never disturb you again, Lin Feng stated. Shui Bagio shivered. She looked at Lin Feng and found herself shaking. Lin Feng's words had a definite impact on her. She knew that she had a memory problem. Apart from the celestial place of the alchemists, she didn't remember much. She had forgotten everything else. It's not the first time something like this has happened to you. Back then, When you wanted to get married to Emperor Dong's son, you had already forgotten everything, otherwise you obviously wouldn't have been willing to get married with Qi Yan, Emperor Dong's son. Now, we haven't seen one another in 10 years, and you have forgotten everything again. I don't know what has happened to you, said Lin Feng slowly, staring at her. Her heart started pounding. She didn't know why she had become amnesic either. Why had she forgotten everything? Did I get married to Emperor Dong's son? She asked Lin Feng. You didn't. I prevented you from getting married to him, replied Lin Feng. My name is Lin Feng. I made people destroy the palace of the celestial kings of medicine. If I wanted to do anything against you, I could. You couldn't resist me. I'm that strong. In the great world, there are many extremely strong cultivators. I can take you to the great world and we can find a solution to cure you. You should decide what you want to do. Shui Bagio stared at Lin Feng. Even though she had forgotten everything, she wasn't stupid. If Lin Feng attacked her, she couldn't do anything. She knew he was telling the truth. Lin Feng didn't continue asking her questions or explaining anything. He just stared at her. After a short time, Shui Bagio nodded and said decisively, "All right, I'm coming with you. From now on, when you meet important friends or enemies, use your godly awareness to remember. That way, if you forget, you will still be able to inspect your godly awareness to access memories. You will still know who your friends and enemies are," he told her. She nodded. In the past, she didn't know she was going to become amnesic, so she had never done that. She didn't even know she kept losing memories. According to Lin Feng, she kept forgetting everything. Both of their silhouettes flickered as they left the celestial place of the alchemists. Shui Bagio followed Lin Feng silently, thinking about many things. In hell, Lin Feng was studying the blue Uptala lotus Minister Uptala had given to him. He used his soul strength and blood to study the flower. He had already established a connection to it already. He just had to think about it and he could make the flower become gigantic and open. Above Lin Feng's head, a mysterious qi was swirling. "Lin Feng, how many sorts of cosmic energies can you control?" asked Minister Uptala to Lin Feng. "My body type allows me to use more than a dozen sorts of cosmic energies," replied Lin Feng with a smile. Minister Uptala's eyes shone. He could control over a dozen different osmic energies. Chapter 1863. Competition over territories in a lake. Lin Feng was seated cross-legged, surrounded by an illusionary blue Uptala lotus, and was also seated on a real blue Uptala lotus that Lotus Minister Uptala had given to him. There were other blue Uptala lotuses on the lake, growing because of the other lotuses. Lin Feng sensed the blue Uptala lotus intent at that moment. He was in his spirit world, where rose a gigantic ancient tree, the heavenly grace ancient tree. The way of the blue Uptala lotus could create the 10,000 things of creation. The heavenly grace ancient tree was a tree which also contained all sorts of cosmic energies. There was a connection between all those things. They were similar in that they could both give birth to the 10,000 things of creation. Lin Feng turned around and gazed into the distance, sensing the wind. "This is my world. I should be able to do anything in here," thought Lin Feng. If other people couldn't use cosmic energies in his world, how could the people who lived in there break through to the Huang Qi layer? He could use a mysterious strength to create and shape his world. Even if the world evolved on its own, he could also be like a god and use the strength of the 10,000 things of creation to modify it as he wished. His spirit allowed him to have a world. He was the god in his world. He had the power to understand any kind of cosmic energy, so why not understand all of them in his world? Lin Feng was thinking, understanding more things. He remained motionless for a very long time. "Brother," someone interrupted Lin Feng. Wu Shang was smiling down at him. "Bro, we're not in the same place anymore, are we?" asked Wu Shang. Lin Wu Shang was usually playful, but in front of Lin Feng, he was usually serious. He also had some doubts. Even though the Imperial Palace hadn't changed, Yangzhou City hadn't changed, and nothing seemed to have changed, he still had the impression that Lin Feng had made them move somewhere else. "Why are you thinking so much?" asked Lin Feng, tapping his brother's head and smiling. "I want to go out and travel," stated Lin Wushang, raising his head. Lin Feng had started traveling when he was 15. Now, Lin Wushang wanted to travel too. He didn't want his family to protect him forever. He didn't want to live in a cocoon. When you break through to the Huangqi layer, I'll let you go to the great world, smiled Lin Feng. Lin Wushang's eyes twinkled. All right, that's a promise. That's a promise, agreed Lin Feng. Lin Wushang left, and Xiaoya and Lu Fei also came to see him. Lu Fei leaned against him. Xiaoya pulled on Lin Feng's arm and said, "Brother, won't you be worried letting him go and travel?" "I will take care of him," promised Lin Feng. He couldn't let Wushang live in his small world forever. He had to let him choose what he wanted to become. "Now is so good, I can stay with you whenever I want," said Lin Feng sighed. He dragged Xiaoya and Lu Fei closer to him and hugged them tightly. He was extremely happy. No matter where he was, he could visit his friends and family whenever he wanted. "Lin Feng, you're done studying," Qing Qing said to Lin Feng 3 days later. "The hellfire is incredibly powerful. I had to modify it entirely to make it fuse together with my own fire," admitted Lin Feng. Qing Qing's eyes glittered. She opened them wide and stared at him. "What's wrong?" asked Lin Feng, not understanding her look. "You completely modified the hellfire?" Qing Qing asked. Lin Feng was surprised. What was wrong with that? He just nodded, though. "Is there a problem?" he asked. "No, nothing," Qing Qing replied, shaking her head. Lin Feng had the impression something was wrong. "Where is the minister?" asked Lin Feng, glancing around. He couldn't see Minister Uptala anywhere around. "Here," answered Minister Uptala in the distance. Qing Qing looked at him and asked, "Father, why did Great Emperor Song call you and Minister Kalasutra over?" A medium-level hell appeared in the Fire Mountain. Great Emperor Song gave Minister Kalasutra and me the order to go and fight the leader, said Minister Uptala. Qing Qing looked surprised and asked, "Who will control that place then if you defeat him?" "Wang Zhen. Great Emperor Song wants his descendant Wang Zhen to take control of it. He asked Minister Kalasutra and me to go and fight him, but Wang Zhen and the army will come too. It's all for him." Wang Zhen was a descendant of Great Emperor Song. Qing Qing understood what her father meant. While he was there, Wang Zhen would be able to gather experience too. "Wait for me. I'm going to call people," Minister Uptala told Lin Feng and Qing Qing. After the minister left, Lin Feng looked at Qing Qing and asked, "The 10 main cities of hell also compete?" "Of course." Qing Qing smiled. "I don't know much about the history of hell, but there are many strong cultivators here. Some of them have their own small worlds. The strongest ones can modify their worlds better than others. Their small worlds can then become a region in hell. Sometimes, some new regions of hell appear suddenly, and then strong cultivators fight over them. There are many resources in small worlds, and people are also resources." "Indeed. When those people become strong, you can use them," agreed Lin Feng. There was a huge difference between hell and the continent of the 9 clouds. In the great world, the ancient clans competed all the time, and people wanted to become stronger using resources. In hell, the 10 Yama Quartz kings controlled everything. After a short time, Minister Uptala came back, now wearing silver armor. There were many marks carved on it. Behind Minister Uptala, there was a strong cultivator wearing blue Uptala lotus armor. He looked dignified and majestic. Many people rapidly appeared. "That's my father's blue Uptala lotus army," said Qing Qing, smiling at Lin Feng. "Lin Feng, come with us." Minister Uptala nodded at Lin Feng. "Let's go." After a short time, 2 other armies joined them, Minister Kalasutra's army and Wang Zhen's army. Lin Feng heard someone grunt icily. He turned around and saw Qin Yao, who was looking at him icily. "Brother Lin Feng," said someone at that moment. Lin Feng turned around and saw Wang Zhen, smiling and nodding greetings to him. "Everybody is here, let's go." Wang Zhen waved. The 3 gathered armies started moving together. Lin Feng followed the Uptala army. They all jumped onto a gigantic blue Uptala lotus and started flying at full speed. Lin Feng looked at the world under his feet. He finally understood how vast Great Imperial Song City was now. It was as big as several countries. After they had been flying for a while, Lin Feng saw a gigantic mountain range ahead in the shape of a tortoise. That's the exit of Great Imperial Song City, explained Wang Zhen, pointing in the distance. There was a hole in what looked like the abdomen of the tortoise. The armies were heading towards that hole. People from Chujiang City found out about it, but nobody said anything about it. Then, some rumors spread and Great Emperor Song went there and broke the mountain open to create a passage, sealing it afterwards, said Wang Zhen. The armies walked up to the entrance, crossed over, and suddenly, they were in another world. It was a fiery mountain range. There were flames everywhere. It looked just like purgatory. Let's go, said Wang Zhen, taking the first step. After a short time, the armies arrived in a sinister place. There were burnt corpses on the ground and wrecked buildings everywhere. Wang Zhen was furious. There was a battle? Asked Minister Kalasutra. Indeed. I had already given the order to build a city here. I hadn't thought people would discover it that fast. They even killed our people, said Wang Zhen. Lin Feng was stupefied. The competition between those 10 big cities in hell was fierce and cruel. Lin Feng, the competition in hell is fierce, especially when people compete over territories. Usually, there's lots of blood involved, Qing Qing whispered to Lin Feng. Lin Feng nodded. He had heard that there would be 5 powerful groups in this place. There would definitely be lots of bloodshed involved. And the natives will also suffer a lot. They won't be able to keep some of their homes, said Qing Qing. Lin Feng realized that a deadly battle was about to happen. They are tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.